Admiral James Walker's boots made a dull thud with each step as he walked along the observation deck. The large window in front of him showed Earth's biggest shipyard floating in space. Workers in small ships moved around like busy bees, putting the final pieces on humanity's greatest creation, the HSS Justice. The warship was massive. At 15 kilometers long, it was bigger than any ship humans had ever built. Its dark hull gleamed under the work lights, hiding weapons that could destroy entire planets. James stood with his hands behind his back, watching silently. His gray hair and the deep lines on his face showed the weight of his duty. 3 years ago, he had watched helplessly as the Vrex Dominion attacked Mars colony without warning. 30 million people had died in what the aliens called a preventative strike. The memory of it still kept him awake at night. Quite a sight, isn't she? James turned to see Dr. Lisa Reed joining him at the window. Her white lab coat stood out against the dark observation deck. As the lead weapons engineer for the Justice, she had spent the last 3 years building the most deadly weapon systems ever made. Is it truly necessary? Lisa asked quietly. All this firepower? James looked back at the ship. The Galactic Council ignored our calls for help. The Vrex faced no punishment for killing 30 million people. Sometimes justice requires overwhelming force. Lisa nodded slowly, but her eyes showed doubt. We've built something that can crack planets. Admiral, the main cannon alone could punch a hole through a moon. And the Vrex must know that we won't hesitate to use it if they attack us again. A crew member approached with a tablet. Sir, the final systems check is complete. The Justice is ready. James took the tablet and signed it. Begin crew boarding. We launch in 24 hours. Deep in the ship, Engineer Ben Collins checked connections in a narrow hallway. At 28, he was one of the youngest senior engineers assigned to the Justice. He wiped sweat from his forehead and admired the technology around him. The walls were lined with neural pathways that connected to Lady G, the ship's artificial intelligence. Lady G would control most of the ship's systems, making the Justice deadly effective even with a small human crew. Testing comms in Section 42B, Ben said aloud. Comms functioning at optimal levels, Engineer Collins, replied Lady G's calm female voice. All systems in your section are green. Ben smiled. Thanks, Lady J. How's the rest of the ship looking? The Justice is operating at 98.7% efficiency. Final calibrations are underway. We will be ready for launch as scheduled. Ben patted the wall fondly. Humanity's greatest achievement. Let's hope we never have to show the galaxy what you can really do. Captain Tom Miller stood in his new quarters, unpacking his few belongings. At 45, he had commanded 3 ships before, but nothing like the Justice. His previous ship could fit in the Justice's landing bay with room to spare. He placed a small photo frame on his desk, a picture of his family back on Earth. His wife Jane and their 2 children smiled back at him. Tom wondered what they would think of this mission. Was he protecting them or putting them in greater danger? A chime announced a visitor. Admiral Walker entered when Tom called out. Captain Miller, James said, offering his hand. How are you settling in? Tom shook it firmly. Still finding my way around, sir. It's a big ship. The biggest. And now, it's yours. James handed him a datapad. These are your orders, directly from Earth Command. Tom read through them quickly, his expression growing serious. This is a show of force mission, then. The Vrex need to understand that humanity won't be an easy target anymore. Take the Justice to the edge of the Epsilon sector. Let them see what we've built. Let them know that next time they attack us, we can hit back harder. And if they attack the Justice, James's eyes hardened. Then you show them exactly why that's a mistake they'll only make once. On the bridge of his flagship, General Kraz of the Vrex Dominion clicked his mandibles as he studied the intelligence reports. His segmented eyes narrowed at the holographic images of the human warship. They've actually done it, he said to his second-in-command. The humans have built a planet killer. Commander Vroll flared his neck ridges in concern. The Council will not be pleased. This violates at least 3 galactic accords. The Council. Kraz laughed, a harsh chittering sound. The Council did nothing when we destroyed their Mars colony. Why would they act now? That was different. We convinced them it was necessary for galactic security. Kraz turned to the viewport, where the stars of his empire stretched into the distance. And now the humans have given us exactly what we need to finish what we started. He tapped a command into his console. Prepare a battle fleet. Position it at the Epsilon outpost. But sir, Vroll protested, our intelligence suggests the humans will send their ship there as a warning only. If we position a battle fleet, then they will either retreat, proving they are cowards despite their new weapon, or they will fight, giving us the excuse we need to call for their complete destruction. Kraz's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his kind. Either way, the Dominion wins. Back on the Justice, Admiral Walker gave his final inspection as the crew settled in. 5,000 humans among corridors and rooms designed for 20,000. The ship felt empty, but Lady G's presence filled the void. In the massive engine room, technicians prepared the revolutionary drive system that would allow the Justice to outrun light itself. In the weapons control center, Lisa's team ran final checks on weapons that could shatter worlds. James found himself back on the observation deck, looking out at Earth. Beautiful, vulnerable Earth, with its blue oceans and white clouds. A world the Vrex would happily destroy, just as they had Mars. We didn't want this, he whispered to himself. We never asked for war. But we will not be victims again. The ship's PA system activated. All personnel, prepare for departure. Repeat, all personnel, prepare for departure. As the Justice slowly moved away from the shipyard, its massive engines glowing with power, James wondered what they had truly created. A defender, a deterrent, or something that would change humanity forever. The greatest warship ever built began its journey to the stars, carrying with it humanity's fear, rage, and hope. The galaxy would never be the same. Neither would humanity. Captain Tom Miller sat in the command chair on the bridge of the HSS Justice. Around him, crew members worked at their stations, their faces lit by the glow of screens. The massive bridge felt too big for the small number of people on it, but Lady J, the ship's AI, was always present. Captain, we're approaching the jump point for the Epsilon sector, said Jack, the navigation officer. Tom nodded. Prepare for FTL jump. Lady J, status report. The AI's calm voice filled the bridge. All systems operating at peak efficiency, Captain. The crew is at ready status. Weapons systems are on standby. Remember, this is a show of force only, Tom reminded his crew. We drop out of FTL at the edge of the Vrex outpost's sensor range. Let them see us, and wait for their response. The orders were clear. The Justice wasn't supposed to fire first. Earth wanted to show its new power, not start a war. Tom hoped the Vrex would understand the message. Leave humans alone, or face something they couldn't defeat. FTL drives charged and ready, reported Jack. Jump in 3, 2, 1. The stars outside stretched into lines as the Justice slipped into faster-than-light travel. The ship barely shuddered, despite moving at speeds that would have torn apart any other vessel. Tom used the quiet moment to study the data on his personal screen. The Epsilon outpost was a small Vrex base, nothing that should worry the Justice, a simple mission to deliver a message. But something felt wrong. 3 years in space had given Tom good instincts, and right now those instincts were screaming at him. Lady J, run another scan of the Epsilon sector based on our latest intelligence. Scanning, Captain. Information is limited at FTL speeds. Tom drummed his fingers on the arm of his chair. Let me know the moment we have better data. 10 minutes later, the Justice dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Epsilon sector. The view screen showed the distant star and its planets. Scan complete, Lady J announced. Then her voice changed slightly. Captain, I am detecting multiple ship signatures at the Vrex outpost. The profile does not match our intelligence reports. Tom leaned forward. Show me. The view screen changed to show a tactical display. Where there should have been a small outpost, there was now a fleet of 30 Vrex warships in battle formation. They knew we were coming, Tom said quietly. Maria, the communications officer, turned in her seat. Captain, we're being hailed by the Vrex flagship. On screen, the face of a Vrex commander appeared. His insect-like features were hard for humans to read, but the position of his mandibles suggested what might be a smile. Human vessel, the Vrex said through the translator. You have entered Dominion space in a warship. This is an act of aggression that cannot be tolerated. Tom kept his face calm. This is Captain Miller of the HSS Justice. We are on a peaceful mission at the edge of neutral space as recognized by the Galactic Council. Your fleet's presence here is unexpected. The Dominion does not recognize your claims, the Vrex replied. You will power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded, or we will open fire. Tom looked at his tactical officer, Mark, who shook his head slightly. This was a trap. The Vrex had positioned a battle fleet here deliberately, waiting for the Justice to arrive. We will not power down and we will not be boarded, Tom said firmly. We are not looking for a conflict, Commander. I suggest you stand down. The screen went blank. They've cut communication, Maria reported. Captain, they're powering up weapons. Tom didn't hesitate. Red alert. Battle stations. Lady J, defensive protocols. The bridge lights dimmed to red as alarms sounded throughout the ship. Crew members who had been watching the exchange now rushed to their positions. Vrex vessels are firing, Mark called out. On the view screen, streaks of energy shot from the Vrex ships toward the Justice. In any normal situation, 30 warships firing at once would destroy a single vessel instantly. But the Justice wasn't normal. The massive energy bolts hit the Justice's shields and dissipated like water on hot stone. The ship barely trembled. Shields holding at 98%. Lady J reported calmly. No damage to any systems. The bridge crew looked at each other in amazement. They had been told the Justice was powerful, but seeing it withstand such an attack without damage was still shocking. Tom allowed himself a small smile. Lady J, target the lead vessels. Precision strikes only. Targeting complete, Captain. Awaiting your order. Tom took a deep breath. This would be the Justice's first real combat. Once they fired, there was no going back. Fire. From the outside, the Justice seemed to barely respond. Small points of light appeared along its hull, hardly visible against the vastness of space. What followed was not a battle. It was a demonstration. Pencil-thin beams of energy shot out from the Justice, each one finding its target with perfect accuracy. The beams cut through Vrex shields as if they weren't there, slicing through the hulls of the alien ships with surgical precision. 5 Vrex warships exploded in the first exchange, not from direct destruction, but from their own power cores destabilizing after the Justice's weapons severed critical systems. Enemy vessels attempting to regroup, Mark reported, his voice shaking slightly at the display of power he was witnessing. Tom nodded. Lady J, second volley. Disable their propulsion and weapons only if possible. Understood, Captain. Adjusting targeting parameters. The Justice fired again. This time, the energy beams were even more precise, cutting off engine sections and weapons arrays without destroying the ships completely. On the Vrex flagship, General Kraz watched in growing horror as his fleet was taken apart piece by piece. This was not how it was supposed to go. The humans weren't supposed to have a ship this powerful. Order all vessels to focus fire on their midship section, he commanded desperately. His remaining ships obeyed, concentrating their fire on a single point of the Justice. For a moment, the human ship's shields glowed brightly at the impact point. Shields at 92% in Section 4. Lady J reported. Redistributing power. Tom watched the tactical display as more Vrex ships were disabled. This isn't a fair fight, he said quietly. They ambushed us, sir, Mark reminded him. I know. Tom looked at the remains of the Vrex fleet. 20 of their 30 ships were either destroyed or disabled. The rest were still firing, but achieving nothing. But this feels wrong. Maria turned in her seat. Captain, we're receiving surrender signals from 3 of the disabled Vrex vessels. Tom nodded. Cease fire on those ships. He thought for a moment. Send a message to the Vrex flagship. Tell them we will accept their surrender and provide assistance to their damaged vessels. Otherwise, we will continue until their fleet is completely neutralized. A tense minute passed. The Vrex flagship is responding, Maria said. They're surrendering, Captain. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. The Justice hovered untouched among the debris and damaged ships of what had been a proud Vrex battle fleet. Tom felt no triumph, only the weight of what had just happened. Stand down from red alert, he ordered. Begin rescue operations for the damaged Vrex ships. As the crew moved to obey, Tom turned to his personal screen and began composing his report to Earth Command. How could he explain what had just happened? The Justice hadn't just won a battle. It had shown that the balance of power in the galaxy had fundamentally changed. Earth had wanted to send a message with the Justice. They had sent one, stronger than anyone had expected. Tom wondered what the response would be. As he looked at the broken Vrex fleet on his screen, he feared he already knew the answer. The galaxy would never be the same. 2 weeks after the battle in the Epsilon sector, Earth was celebrating. News of the Justice's victory had spread across every human colony. For the first time in decades, the Vrex were retreating from human space. People felt safe again. But on board the Justice, the mood was different. Captain Tom Miller sat alone in his quarters, staring at reports on his screen. The blue light cast shadows on his tired face. He hadn't slept well since the battle. A soft knock on his door broke the silence. "Come in," Tom called. Engineer Ben Collins entered, carrying a tablet. He stopped when he saw the captain's face. "Is this a bad time, sir?" Ben asked. Tom shook his head. "No, just reviewing the reports from our last mission." He gestured to the screen. 3 million Vrex civilians dead in the crossfire. Ben looked confused. "Sir, our weapons were precise. We didn't target any civilian areas." "No, but when we disabled the Vrex battle cruiser over Torton IV, it crashed into a moon colony. The Vrex evacuated most of their military personnel, but left the civilian workers." Tom rubbed his eyes. "The Galactic Council just sent the casualty reports." Ben sat down across from the captain. "That wasn't our fault. We couldn't have known. Couldn't we?" Tom looked up. "We have the most advanced sensors in the galaxy. Lady J could have calculated the cruiser's fall path. We could have used a different approach." He closed the report. "We're becoming what we hated, Ben." "What do you mean?" "The Vrex killed millions of our people, and we hated them for it. Now we've done the same thing." Tom stood up and walked to the window. "And Earth is celebrating." In the ship's mess hall, Lisa Reed sat with a group of officers. The television screen showed crowds cheering in New York City. The Justice's crew were being called heroes. "Doesn't feel right," Lisa said, pushing her food around her plate. "They're treating us like we won some kind of sports game." "Mark," the tactical officer shrugged. "We won a battle. People are happy we're safe. But at what cost?" Lisa asked. "The Justice was supposed to be a deterrent. Now we're hunting down Vrex outposts." It was true. After the battle in Epsilon sector, Earth Command had sent new orders. The Justice was now on an offensive campaign, targeting Vrex military bases throughout the border regions. "They started this," Maria from Communications said firmly. "Remember Mars?" Lisa nodded. Everyone remembered Mars. But somehow, that didn't make her feel any better. Admiral James Walker stood in the Earth Command Center, surrounded by generals and politicians. A large hologram showed the Justice's next targets. The Vreks are in full retreat, a general was saying. Their fleets can't stand against the Justice. If we press our advantage now, we could push them back to their home systems within a month. James studied the map. And then what? Do we take their colonies, their homeworld? The room fell silent. They would have taken ours if they could, someone finally said. James turned to face the group. Is that who we are now? We built the Justice to protect humanity, not to become conquerors. The president's representative stepped forward. Admiral, the Vreks have been aggressors for decades. The Justice has given us leverage we never had before. We'd be fools not to use it. Before James could respond, an aide rushed in. Sir, we've received an urgent message from the Galactic Council. They're requesting humanity's presence at an emergency session. James frowned. The Council has ignored our requests for years. Why the urgency now? They didn't say, sir, but representatives from 12 species will be there. The politicians exchanged looks. This was unexpected. Tell them we'll attend, the president's representative said. And inform Captain Miller to bring the Justice to the Council station. Let them see what we're capable of now. 3 days later, the Justice arrived at the massive Galactic Council station. The human ship dwarfed the diplomatic vessels docked there. Tom stood in his dress uniform, preparing to leave a small delegation to the council chamber. Lisa and Ben would join him. I don't like leaving the ship, Tom told his executive officer. Keep her ready. If anything feels wrong. We'll be watching, sir, the officer promised. Lady J has all defense systems on standby. The human delegation entered the council chamber to find representatives from a dozen alien species already seated. The Vreks ambassador sat apart from the others, his mandibles tight against his face, a sign of distress. The Tel ambassador rose to greet them. Her translucent skin pulsed with patterns of light, the way her species showed emotion. Captain Miller, Dr. Reed, Engineer Collins, she said through her translator. Thank you for coming. Tom noticed the tension in the room. Your message suggested urgency, Ambassador. What's this about? The Telm gestured to the center of the room, where a hologram appeared. It showed the Justice destroying Vreks ships in the Epsilon sector. The Justice is not balance, the Telm said. It is extinction-level technology. No single species should wield such power. Tom frowned. With respect, Ambassador, where was this concern when the Vreks destroyed our Mars colony? 30 million humans died, and the Council did nothing. The chamber erupted in multiple alien languages. The Teln raised her hands for silence. That is why we've called you here, she said. We have evidence that may change your understanding of what happened at Mars. The hologram changed to show internal Vreks communications. The translation appeared beneath the alien text. The attack on Mars was not authorized by the full Dominion, the Teln explained. It was orchestrated by hardliners, including General Kraz. Many Vreks opposed it. Lisa stepped forward. You knew this. When did you learn this? The Teln's skin darkened, a sign of shame in her species. The Council had this evidence shortly after the attack. We withheld it. Why? Tom demanded. Because we feared human retaliation, another ambassador said. Your species has always been unpredictable. We worried about how you would respond. Ben laughed bitterly. So you let us believe all Vreks wanted us dead. And now you're surprised we built a ship to defend ourselves. The Vreks ambassador finally spoke. The actions of Kraz's faction do not represent all Vreks. Many of us sought peace with humans. Tom stared at the alien. And yet you said nothing when millions of our people died. Just as you say nothing when millions of ours die now, the Vreks replied quietly. A heavy silence fell over the chamber. Tom felt the weight of the Justice's power and the responsibility that came with it. They had built the ultimate warship seeking justice, but was true justice possible through overwhelming force alone? As the council meeting continued, on Earth politicians debated what to do next. The Justice had given humans power they'd never had before. Should they surrender their advantage for promises of justice that might never come? And in the shadows of space, General Kraz watched and planned. The humans had built a ship too powerful to defeat in battle, but there were other ways to fight, other weapons that even the mighty Justice might not be able to stop. The game had changed, but it was far from over. The Justice hung in orbit around Earth, its massive hull gleaming in the sunlight. Inside, Captain Tom Miller walked through the corridors, nodding to crew members as he passed. 2 days had passed since their return from the Galactic Council meeting, and everyone was waiting for new orders. Tom entered the main conference room where his senior officers had gathered. Lisa Reed and Ben Collins were deep in conversation, while Mark from Tactical studied something on his tablet. "Attention," Tom said, as he took his seat at the head of the table. "I've just come from a call with Earth Command. They're still debating how to respond to the Council's revelations." "Do they believe what the Council told us?" Lisa asked. "About the Vrex hardliners being behind the Mars attack?" Tom nodded. "The evidence seems genuine, but trust is in short supply right now." Ben leaned forward. "So what happens next? Do we stand down? Keep hunting Vrex outposts?" Before Tom could answer, Lady G's voice came through the speakers. "Captain, I am detecting an urgent priority signal from Earth Command. Admiral Walker is requesting immediate communication." Tom frowned. This was unexpected. "Put him through to this room." The large screen on the wall lit up to show Admiral Walker's face. He looked tense, his eyes dark with worry. "Captain Miller, we have a situation," Walker said without greeting. "Our long-range sensors have detected a quantum anomaly forming near the Vrex homeworld. I'm sending the data to Lady G now." The screen split to show sensor readings. Tom wasn't a scientist, but even he could tell something was very wrong. Strange energy patterns swirled around the Vrex star system. Lisa moved closer to the screen. "That's impossible," she whispered. "Those readings can't be right." "I'm afraid they are, Doctor," Walker replied. "We've confirmed them from 3 different outposts." "What is it?" Tom asked. Lisa turned to face him, her face pale. "They're creating a tear in space-time. It's similar to our FTL drive technology, but on a massive scale and completely unstable. The Vrex are desperate," Walker explained. "After the Justice demonstrated its power, they've activated some kind of ancient technology buried beneath their homeworld. Intelligence suggests these are weapons left by a long-vanished species called the Precursors. They can't control something like that," Lisa said, her voice rising. "If that tear collapses, it could take out their entire system. And the shockwave could reach us too." Tom stood up. "What are our orders, Admiral?" Walker took a deep breath. "The Justice is the only ship with enough power to potentially neutralize this threat. You are to proceed to the Vrex homeworld at maximum speed." "And then what?" Tom asked. "We're not sure," Walker admitted. "Our scientists are working on solutions now. Dr. Reed will receive their theories during your journey. But Captain," he paused, "there are 7 billion Vrex on their homeworld. If this anomaly can't be stopped, they'll all die." The room fell silent as the weight of those words sank in. "We'll do what we can, Admiral," Tom finally said. "Justice out." As the screen went dark, Tom turned to his officers. "Battle stations, prepare for immediate departure." The Justice dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Vrex system. The view screen showed a scene from Nightmare, a writhing darkness surrounding the Vrex homeworld, ribbons of energy tearing through space. "My God," Ben whispered from his station. "Analysis, Lady J," Tom ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos before them. "The anomaly is growing at an exponential rate," the AI reported. "At current progression, complete system collapse will occur in approximately 4 hours and 26 minutes. Lisa looked up from her station. "Captain, I've been studying the data from Earth. This isn't a weapon. At least, not one the Vrex can control. They've activated something they don't understand, and now it's running wild." Can we stop it? Tom asked. Lisa hesitated. Maybe. Our main cannon could potentially disrupt the energy patterns if we fire directly into the center of the anomaly. But we'd have to get dangerously close, and the energy backlash would be substantial. How substantial? The Justice would absorb enough energy to fry most of our systems. We might lose Lady J, life support, everything. Tom nodded slowly, understanding what she wasn't saying. They might save the Vrex, but the Justice would likely be destroyed in the process, along with everyone on board. Get me a channel to any Vrex ships in the area, he ordered. A moment later, a familiar face appeared on screen. General Kraz himself, mandibles tight with fear. Captain Miller, the Vrex general said. You've come to witness our destruction. We've come to help, if we can, Tom replied. What happened, Kraz? The Vrex commander's compound eye shifted. We found precursor technology beneath our capital city. My scientists believed it could match the power of your Justice. His mandibles clicked rapidly, a sign of distress. They were wrong. We cannot control it. You've doomed your own people trying to match our power, Tom said quietly. Yes. Kraz's voice was barely audible. Our evacuation ships can only save a tiny fraction of our population. The rest will die when the anomaly collapses. Tom turned to Lisa. How soon can the main cannon be ready? 20 minutes to reconfigure it for this type of target, she replied. Do it. Tom turned back to the view screen. General, we're going to attempt to neutralize the anomaly. Order your ships to fall back to a safe distance. Kraz's eyes widened. You would help us? After everything. This isn't about revenge anymore, Tom said. Get your people to safety. As the communication ended, Tom stood up. This is Captain Miller to all crew. Prepare for emergency operations. All non-essential personnel to escape pods as a precaution. Over the next 30 minutes, the Justice moved carefully toward the growing anomaly. The massive ship seemed small against the swirling darkness that was slowly consuming the Vrex homeworld. Main cannon reconfigured and ready, Lisa reported from the weapons station. Her face was grim but determined. All Vrex evacuation ships are clear of the danger zone, Maria added. Tom looked at the view screen. The Justice had been built to destroy, to be the ultimate weapon of war. Now they would see if it could also save. Lady J, divert all power to shields and the main cannon, Tom ordered. Target the center of the anomaly. Target locked, Captain. Lady J replied. Firing solution calculated. Be advised. Energy readings indicate a 78.4% probability of severe system damage upon firing. Tom took a deep breath and looked at his bridge crew. No one spoke, but he could see in their eyes that they understood the risk. They were ready. Fire. The Justice's main cannon activated, sending a blinding beam of energy directly into the heart of the anomaly. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then the darkness began to pulse, ribbons of energy wrapping around the beam like hungry tentacles. Energy feedback detected, Lady J warned. Shields at maximum. The ship began to shake violently as the anomaly fought back, sending waves of power crashing against the Justice's defenses. Maintain fire, Tom ordered, holding onto his chair as the bridge trembled around him. Alarms blared throughout the ship as systems began to overload. But still, the Justice held, pouring its immense power into the heart of the darkness. And slowly, incredibly, the anomaly began to shrink. It's working. Lisa shouted over the noise of failing systems. The tear is starting to close. On the Vrex homeworld, billions looked up to see a human warship, their enemy, fighting to save them all. In that moment, as the Justice stood alone against the abyss, both humans and Vrex witnessed something neither had expected. The most powerful weapon ever built, now becoming their only hope for peace. 3 months after the incident at the Vrex homeworld, Captain Tom Miller stood at the window of a hospital room on Earth. His left arm was in a cast, and burned scars marked the right side of his face. Outside, spring flowers were blooming in the hospital garden, but his thoughts were far away among the stars. The door opened, and he turned to see Admiral Walker enter. "How are you feeling, Captain?" James asked. "Better every day," Tom replied. "The doctors say I can return to duty next month." James nodded, then looked out the window. The Justice saved billions of lives. Human and Vrex engineers are still studying how you managed to contain the anomaly. "We nearly didn't," Tom said quietly, remembering those final moments as the ship's systems failed one by one. If Lady J hadn't redirected power in the final seconds, the Justice had barely made it back to Earth. Half its systems were destroyed, and 28 crew members had lost their lives. But they had succeeded. The anomaly was contained, and the Vrex homeworld was saved. "The Galactic Council chamber is ready," James said after a moment. "They're waiting for us." Tom straightened his dress uniform as best he could with one good arm. "Then let's not keep them waiting." The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Captain Miller entered, walking slowly but with his head held high. Behind him came Admiral Walker and a small group of human officials. Across the room stood General Kraz of the Vrex, his once proud posture now humble. The massive view screen showed the Justice in orbit, its hull still bearing the scars of battle. The Teln ambassador rose to address the gathered representatives from every spacefaring species. "We are here today to discuss the future of the HFY Justice, and with it, the future of peace in our galaxy." Tom stepped forward. The Justice was built as the ultimate weapon, humanity's answer to aggression. But at the Vrex homeworld, we discovered its true purpose, not to destroy, but to protect. He looked at General Kraz. "We were enemies, driven by fear and misunderstanding. The Justice was powerful enough to destroy worlds. But true power isn't about destruction. It's about choice." Kraz moved to stand beside Tom. To the shocked assembly, the human and Vrex stood together. "The humans could have let our world die," Kraz said, his translator conveying the emotion in his alien voice. "It would have been justice, by some standards, for what happened at Mars. Instead, they chose mercy. They risked their lives to save ours." Tom took a deep breath. "We propose a new solution. The Justice cannot belong to humanity alone. Such power shouldn't belong to any single species." The chamber erupted in surprised chatter. Admiral Walker stepped forward to explain. "We propose that the Justice be recommissioned as a multi-species vessel," he said, "crewed by representatives from all council races, including the Vrex. It would serve as a protector against threats that endanger us all, but no single government would control it." The Teln ambassador's skin glowed with surprise. "This is unprecedented." "So is the Justice," Tom replied. "Power unchecked becomes tyranny. True justice requires balance." Not everyone agreed. In the Earth delegation, several officials frowned. Among the Vrex, hardliners clicked their mandibles in disagreement. Other species whispered among themselves, calculating advantages and risks. Lisa Reed, her arm still in a sling, stood up from her seat. "The Justice's technology can be used for more than war. Its energy systems could power colonies on harsh worlds. Its shields could protect stations from solar flares. Its sensors could study phenomena we've never understood before." Ben Collins joined her. "We built it as a weapon, but it can be so much more, a symbol of cooperation instead of fear." The council debated for hours. Some argued that Earth should keep control of the ship it had built. Others feared what would happen if the technology was shared. The Vrex delegation was split between those who supported Kraz's new vision and those who still hungered for power. Finally, the Teln ambassador called for a vote. One by one, the species made their choice. 1 year later, the rechristened GZS Harmony departed Earth's orbit on its maiden voyage. Its weapons remained, but its purpose had transformed. Its hull now bore the symbols of a dozen species, and its crew was the most diverse ever assembled. Captain Tom Miller stood on the bridge, now one voice among many in a command crew that included humans, Vrex, and representatives from the other council races. His burns had healed, though the scars remained as a reminder of how close they had come to disaster. "Course laid in, Captain," said the Tel navigator, her skin glowing with excitement. "Engine room reports ready," added the Vrex engineer who had once served under Kras. Tom nodded, feeling the strange but right sensation of commanding this new kind of ship. "Lady J, status report." The AI's voice had changed slightly, incorporating patterns from multiple species languages. "All systems functioning at optimal capacity, Captain. The Harmony is ready." Tom looked around at the bridge crew, former enemies now working side by side. The human-designed ship that had been built for vengeance now carried something more valuable, the first truly unified force in a divided galaxy. "Take us out, 1/4 power," Tom ordered. "Our first mission awaits." As the Harmony accelerated away from Earth, Tom thought about the journey that had brought them here. The justice had been too powerful for any single species to wield justly, but perhaps together they could find a balance between strength and wisdom. He opened the ship's log to make his first entry as captain of this new vessel. Captain's log, GCS Harmony. Today we begin a new chapter. The ship that was built as the ultimate weapon has become something greater, the ultimate expression of cooperation. True justice, we have learned, isn't found in overwhelming power, but in the wisdom to know when not to use it, and in knowing when to share it. The Harmony jumped to FTL, disappearing in a flash of light as it began its first mission of exploration rather than war. Epilogue. Deep in uncharted space, beyond the borders of known civilization, sensors on a small research probe detected an energy signature that matched nothing in its database. The signal was weak but distinct, technology that wasn't human, Vrex, or any known species. For a brief moment, it pulsed with the same pattern as the anomaly that had nearly destroyed the Vrex homeworld. Then it was gone, as if whatever created it had noticed the probe and gone silent. The probe dutifully recorded the data and continued its mission, its small processors not understanding the significance of what it had found. Whatever ancient eyes had been watching the galaxy's recent conflicts, they were not dormant as everyone believed. The precursors, or whatever remained of them, were stirring, and the ultimate test of the new alliance was just beginning.